Hello all my Kenvians and welcome to a new episode of Discovering Steven Universe. Just so you know, those of you that might not have seen me mention this or might not have seen it yet, I have created a theory video as to my thoughts regarding the shattering of Pink Diamond. So if you would like to check that out, I can, I can send you the link. Just contact me like through direct message, be it through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or I'll provide my email address is at the bottom of the YouTube description, so you can also contact me there if you would like to ask. But that aside, today we're going to be watching Your Mother and Mine and The Big Show. And I don't remember what I said about Your Mother and Mine, like my potential thoughts on it. I'm just going to go with the assumption that maybe they're going to talk about Rose some. I'm not sure how that makes it Your Mother and Mine ties into that. It'll be interesting to find out. And then The Big Show, I'm just going to guess that, Sadie, Killer, and, someone, I had written down the name of the group, but I forgot to do it before I started recording this. But anyway, her band with the cool kids, I'm going to assume it's their first big show. The Big Show, you might say. But I've delayed this too long. Everyone, let's get right into Your Mother and Mine, and I am curious whether or not they will still be in space, or if it will fast forward to Steven and Connie are back on Earth. Let's find out. And go!
Captain's log. Stardate, Thursday. Space.
Captain Mars, don't use the thrusters. We're going to lose power.
Thanks, Pat Bradshaw.
Oh, Patty.
Look at you all. You must be Rhodonite. A ruby and a pearl. That must have been a story. I want all the details. You're just beautiful.
Oh.
Hypermesh. And I'm Sapphire. How rare.
I predict you're going to make everyone uncomfortable.
Oh no!
You met Rose Quartz and you survived? You guys know about Rose?
What?
The energy gem. An organic beast. You have it all wrong.
Oh.
Quartz?
Hold on, everyone. Let me. Curiosity turned to appreciation. Appreciation turned to fondness.
The simple art style of this is really interesting.
I predict that Captain Lars will be pressing the wrong button.
Oh.
Does that mean you can get back to
Incredibly dangerous. So are we. Let's show them.
Okay. Alright, so it jumps right into The Big Show. Okay. Let's see if we can back it up just a touch here. There we go. Okay. Alright, so Your Mother and Mine. The mother is referring to Rose, but it's sort of like the mother, the founder of the rebellion, and that's what the big story was about. And I'm sorry, it's like I am fairly sure that most of that I was just staring, like taking everything in. But that was a very interesting episode, and I'm not gonna lie, after seeing that episode, it has me second guessing a lot of the things I said on my theory video, but that's beside the point. Let's get right into it overall. It's like the biggest and I think coolest part of this episode, aside from the story, is Garnet visiting the off-colors. And just what that snowballed into is like I mean, it was a surprise to begin with, but the fact that Garnet visited, the others saw another fusion, which I will say, I did find it interesting that none of the off-colors, maybe they were just because they were distracted, but no one commented on how Steven and Connie fused. Like, I don't know, I guess I thought maybe they would have had some questions about that, especially since Connie is a human, whereas Steven is part gem. I don't know, again, that's something that I didn't really think to mention last time, but that's something that, you know, I guess might bug me a little bit about Lars of the Stars, that episode. But regardless, I found it very interesting that when Garnet was complimenting them, talking to them, referring to how Rhodonite is a ruby and a pearl, and I know that someone had mentioned that in the comments several episodes back. But it's like, you know, I want all the details and that kind of thing. And it's just like being very cute and just like, you know, trying to, you know, compliment them and show them how excited she is to meet them. But because all they've known for themselves is just being outcast, they see her, they take her words as being painful. It's like that everything she's saying sounds like it's meant to harm them from their perspective. So yeah, I didn't expect that reaction at all, to be completely honest. But I like how they went from that to Garnet explaining how it is that she's come to be comfortable with herself, and that's because of Rose's rebellion, Rose's rise up against Pink, and the shattering of Pink Diamond, which I'll come back to the shattering, but when she was telling the story, first of all, I think the voice actor for Garnet, her name is Estelle, unless I'm mistaken. But she has just, like, one of the best storytelling voices I've ever heard. Like, I could just close my eyes and listen to her tell that story, and it would be so soothing and amazing. I just absolutely love that. And to go along with the soothing, excellent storytelling voice, we had a very minimalistic but effective art style that played along with the story. Just most, if not all of it, being very silhouette, with the exception of very strong pinks, and other than that, mostly subdued colors, until we get to the point of Garnet talking about, like, you know, the ownerless pearl, the bismuth that made weapons for the rebels instead of towers, which apparently that's what bismuths did. I don't know if that was mentioned in Bismuth's episode, but apparently bismuths are supposed to build towers. Who knew? And all that. It's like, that's when more color came into that art style, but yeah, just as a whole, I just absolutely loved it. And that might be why I was so quiet for the most part, because I didn't want to interrupt Garnet. I didn't want to interrupt Estelle because of just how captivating of a story it was. And during the story, one thing that caught my eye, and it made me reflect back to something from I think it was the episode The Trial, when Steven and Lars were on Homeworld. As they're falling, there is a tower that after going back and looking at it, it looked like very feminine. It looked like it was a very important tower, shall we say. And then we have we don't actually see her, but we get the profile of White Diamond alongside Yellow and Blue while telling the story. And the profile of White Diamond very, very much reminded me of that building. So I can only assume that the building we saw is White Diamond's tower. And I'm very interested to know when we will be introduced to White Diamond. You all may already have been. So I guess in that regard, I'm interested as to when I'll be able to get introduced to White Diamond and find out what her whole deal is. Is she... I don't know, it almost seems like she's actually bigger than Blue and Yellow. And, well, I don't want to go in too much to what I talked about during my theory video, but that brings to mind, like, certain potential questions, but nothing that really is, nothing that really matters for the time being. Another thing that I really liked was how Garnet referred to Steven's powers. And it's something that... I mean, I guess it's been pretty clear for the most part. Maybe this is the first time they've outright said it, at least that I can think of. I have a poor memory, so you know they've probably mentioned it before. But Steven's empathetic powers is like, he's very much unlike any other gem. He is new. He's different. And he has these very empathetic powers, so the fact that he was able to see through the eyes of Blue Diamond and see this memory of Pink Diamond through her eyes, or at least it was from her eyes at the end of the episode when she punched the glass. But yeah, it just brings up more questions and things that I'm curious about in regard to the whole Pink Diamond situation. But I do also want to say this. In regard to the off-colors, by far my favorite is Patty. And I'm calling her Patty because there's no way I can ever remember how to say her full name. But just the absolute best line that she's had so far. When Lars has his hands on like some of the buttons on the screens while they're trying to get the thrusters figured out, and Patty says, Captain Lars will realize that he's pressing the wrong button. And that's another example. It's like in the previous one, well, not the previous one, Lars of the Stars, where her premonitions or like premonitions of the past is like she's getting or starting to become more descriptive for certain things that she's talking about. So in that regard, it becomes true, like she's becoming truly helpful to all of them. And she probably has been helpful in many regards, but this is the one time that we have experienced it ourselves within the span of an episode. So yeah, I really love that. Now before I move on to the big show, one thing I do want to say, and it makes me, again, a lot of this has made me question my theories in the video I made, but also Garnet has, in the story, she says that Rose Quartz went to Pink Diamond, drew her blade, and shattered Pink Diamond. But again, the biggest thing here, and maybe Garnet doesn't know it, but that sword cannot shatter. It can only poof. So what's the truth here? Again, my theories and all that, but I guess I'll find out soon enough. But going off of that subject, it's time to see the big show and find out what the big show is all about. I can only assume that Steven is once again on Earth, sent unless, I don't know, maybe the big show isn't about Sadie and the cool kids. Anyway, I'll shut up now. 3, 2, 1, go!
Okay, but why are you recording it on that giant shoebox? My dad's old camcorder. These are your early days. The footage has to look old.
Film crew. Good thing us Millers only have good angles, huh?
Oh, God.
Okay, I know dinner. I'm making a salad that's mostly cheese.
I like her.
A rise to stardom, followed by the inevitable infighting and creative disagreements that will tear us apart in a beautiful explosion of emotions.
Or not.
Don't worry, that won't happen.
Oh, shoot.
I just want to be able to do it on my own.
Right. You need your space.
Yay!
You kids be safe and have a good show, huh?
Boundaries!
Ready to record.
Respecting boundaries!
You don't know how to tie a tie.
Yeah, like didn't your dad teach you? You used to wear them every day.
They were clip-ons.
Oh!
Sadie!
Huh.
You were all so amazing.
You're welcome to play at the venue anytime.
Aw.
Hey, Mr. Universe, let's play our next show in Beach City.
I'll make it happen.
That's all, folks. Thanks for watching.
Aw. Okay, so the big show. I mean, I know I said this during the reaction, but I assume the song's name is "I'm a Ghost," and it was really good. I really like the feel of The Walking Dead more. But I feel like that song could really grow on me. I feel like if I heard it another time or two, that I would enjoy it a lot more. It's just that at the time I was really only comparing it to The Walking Dead, which is my preference. But yeah, this was a pretty fun little episode. Just a nice breath of fresh air, I guess, after... Well, technically the last episode was a nice breath of fresh air, too. After the events of going out into space with Lars of the Stars and Jungle Moon. I was going to say Jungle Planet, Jungle Moon. But these two episodes, the last one just made me question so much, but it was really enjoyable. And then this one was just fun. The Big Show with Sadie Killer. Excuse me. Sadie Killer and the Suspects. It was... Well, first of all, I need to write down the name of the band in addition to the names of all the off colors so I can actually remember them properly. But yeah, this was just a fun little episode, a nice little towny episode. Seeing Sadie and the Suspects, that it's not just a background thing. It's not something that they were just doing in the background and all of a sudden it'd be like, oh yeah, they're doing a concert. But we're actually seeing the progression of these characters' lives. We're seeing Sadie continue to move on with her life, to evolve to a point where she actually reaches a point where she wants her mom to be at one of those shows. Greg is now a manager for a band. Not just a band, but at least in terms of this show, a potentially very successful band. A band that can, make some pretty sweet songs, in my opinion. And we get to see their first gig, and yeah, I mean, again, I feel like I had wished there was something more energetic that they had done for the intro of their first gig. Again, just from my opinion. But going with that brand new song that, I mean, as viewers, we hadn't seen at that point, it was really cool. And, I mean, one can only suspect that, they played more songs after that, so clearly The Working Dead was in there somewhere. One thing I really liked about this, too, was the fact that it shows that Sadie and her mom have a healthy relationship. Or maybe, if it's not a fully healthy relationship, it's one that is becoming a more healthy relationship. It's something where when Sadie asks her mom to not help out, Barb's just like, oh, okay, I understand. Because they've talked about that. Because it's something that they already went through in the show. And, like, those boundaries have been established. And Barb respects them. Now, she has her own personality, and she wants to help out. She wants to help out Sadie and the cool kids, as much as she can. But when Sadie says no, she wants to do it herself, she doesn't sulk. She doesn't try to throw on a guilt trip or anything like that. She respectfully says okay and is on her way. And I love the way that healthy mother-daughter relationship is shown, because there's too many times that I've seen friends who are parents not necessarily being too involved, but overstepping boundaries, not respecting the boundaries and the wishes of their kids. And, I'm not a parent, but it's something that still really bothers me, because it's like, in my mind, those people who are the same age as me, who now have kids, they've forgotten about being that age, of wanting to be able to, want the respect of your parents and be able to do something, or ask them to do something or not do something, and the parents just say okay, because it was so rare back in the day, and it seems like they've just forgotten about that kind of thing. So again, just to come back to my main point, the fact that they have a good, respectful relationship being displayed here in this cartoon is huge, and something that hopefully kids and parents that watch this show together can get something from. Maybe the parents, if they are a bit too like Barb as she was early on, that they can realize it's okay to respect your kids' wishes, even if it's not something that, even if you don't want to, like, without naming any names and being as vague as possible, say your kid who is in high school asks you to not post pictures of something that they did or an event that they attended on Facebook by their own wishes, or at the very least no pictures with them in it. And then the parent goes and does that anyway. It drives me crazy. And I hope that, again, I just hope that by seeing shows like this, by seeing characters evolve and do things like this, that it can maybe, I don't know, turn the lights or flip the light switch for a few people who are parents and even kids, because it's a two-way thing. You have to have respect both ways. Anyway, and then finally, Sunshine Justice, who was not Sadie's mom. I didn't think she really looked like Sadie's mom personally from the get-go, so I was a bit confused as to why Sadie thought it was her mom. If they're going, I guess she knew that she would go in there with a disguise or whatever. But I don't know, even with the disguise on, it didn't really look like Barb at all. I don't know. Just my particular thoughts on the matter anyway. But that was Your Mother and Mine and The Big Show. And I am very much looking forward to hearing your all's thoughts on these two episodes, as well as hearing your thoughts on what I've had to say. You know, whether it's some of the sillier moments or some of the more serious things that I've talked about, I guess, here at certain points. But yeah, I'm ready to move on to the next episodes, which are going to be Pool Hopping and Letters to Lars. And the show's taken me by surprise before, but I'm going to assume that at the very least, Pool Hopping is going to be another townie episode. Just something kind of laid back for fun, preparing us for what is to come, or rather, I guess at this point, preparing me for what is to come. So yeah, very much looking forward to moving on. Enjoyed these episodes. They didn't blow me out of the water by any means in particular, but they were still very enjoyable. And I continue to love this show. And I am so happy to have you all along for this ride of mine. And I'm very much looking forward to working on getting caught up. As of me recording this, it is currently the 15th. On the 17th, a new episode of Steven Universe comes out. Although apparently it's an episode that's technically already been put out there, just not officially. And so that gives me maybe another week to work on getting caught up before, I have to go on vacation, or not vacation, but, go away for Christmas and all that, so it's gonna be a fun week ahead. But anyway, I'm gonna shut up now. Everyone, as always, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you on the next episode of Discovering Steven Universe. Later days.